Have you ever felt like life isn't exactly what it seems? Like there's something just beyond your perception that you're not being shown? You look at the world, at the people around you, at the screens, the headlines, the endless noise, and it all feels filtered, like someone else is running the show, shaping what you see, shaping what you think, shaping what you believe is possible. But here's the truth: your vision, what you think is your awareness, is only scratching the surface. Since the moment you were born, your senses have been carefully guided, filtered, and, in many ways, restricted, leaving you blind to a reality that exists all around you, all the time. But just beyond the limits of what you've been taught to notice, there's a sixth sense inside you, a hidden dimension of perception that doesn't rely on sight, sound, touch, taste, or smell. It's not mystical mumbo-jumbo. It's not fantasy. It's anatomy. It's biology. It's a tiny gland, no bigger than a grain of rice, nestled deep inside the center of your brain, quietly capable of unlocking access to intuition, symbolic understanding, pattern recognition, and insights that are simply impossible through ordinary senses. This gland has been known for thousands of years, revered, studied, and documented by civilizations that understood its true purpose. Long before modern science dared to look, the Egyptians called it the Eye of Horus, a symbol of higher sight and awareness. The Hindus described it as the seat of spiritual vision, a channel to connect with the infinite. In Western science, it's called the pineal gland, often dismissed as a simple regulator of sleep cycles, a footnote in textbooks, or a mysterious leftover of evolution. But the truth is far more shocking. This tiny structure is your personal antenna, a gateway to perception that has been systematically buried, suppressed, and, in many cases, attacked by the very world around you. Chemicals in your water, fluoride, preservatives in your food, electromagnetic radiation from Wi-Fi, 5G, and your own smartphone, they all interfere with its function, calcifying it, dulling it, disrupting its natural rhythm. Media, education, religion, societal norms, they work together to drown out the voice of your own inner perception, training you to ignore the intuition that has been your guide since birth. And yet, despite all this interference, it's still there, waiting, silent, intact, unbroken, ready to awaken the perception you've been denied. Once it begins to open, you don't just see differently, you feel differently. You start noticing patterns in the world, synchronicities that defy probability, energies and spaces that others walk past oblivious to. Your thoughts feel alive, almost as if they are flowing from somewhere outside yourself. Ideas that appear fully formed, guidance that isn't learned, but received. Science is beginning to catch up. Brain scans show that deep meditation and focused practice can synchronize the hemispheres of the brain, creating measurable changes in neural activity that correlate with intuition and insight. EEG studies confirm that intentional activation of the pineal gland produces states of awareness and clarity that go beyond normal sensory input. And there's more: your body may produce its own natural DMT, a molecule so powerful it has been called the spirit molecule, capable of generating experiences described as out-of-body journeys, encounters with higher intelligence, and perceptions of realms outside linear time. Indigenous cultures have long understood this, using DMT-containing plants in sacred rituals not for recreation, but for initiation, insight, healing, and connection to the unseen world. Yet modern society has ridiculed, banned, or reduced these practices to counterculture rebellion. But your biology doesn't need the plants to awaken. Your body is designed to produce these molecules naturally through meditation, deep sleep, breathwork, and even near-death experiences. This is not a metaphor. This is literal access to levels of consciousness beyond ordinary perception. And the system knows it. That's why it has worked so meticulously to dull your senses, distract your attention, and harden the pineal gland. Schools have taught you memorization over curiosity, obedience over exploration. Media has trained your brain to chase dopamine hits, keeping it busy and unfocused, turning your attention outward for validation instead of inward for awareness. Religion, once a path for inner connection, has been structured into rigid hierarchies, where direct experience is forbidden and mystical knowledge is labeled heresy. Even the concept of the third eye has been ridiculed, dismissed, and feared, so that most people will never dare to trust the quiet inner pull that signals truth. But here's what they cannot stop: the truth itself. The pineal gland is still inside you. The capacity to awaken your perception, to access a higher level of awareness, to feel intuition as guidance and insight as truth, is still yours. And once it begins to function fully, nothing will ever feel the same again. Your world will shift. The mundane will appear artificial. The patterns of life, previously invisible, will reveal themselves in ways that feel uncanny, as if reality itself is speaking directly to you. Your nervous system will start craving coherence instead of chaos. You will start noticing the unseen energy in people, the subtle flows of nature, the alignment and synchronicities. The third eye doesn't just change how you see, it changes how you exist in the world. It turns passive observation into active conversation with reality, making you aware of the invisible threads connecting everything. And this awakening is measured, verifiable, and repeatable. It is supported by neurology, biochemistry, and centuries of ancient wisdom. It is your birthright, your biology, your personal superpower, waiting to be claimed. And the moment you step into it, the illusions surrounding you begin to collapse. You begin to see not only what is, but what was always possible. And the world starts feeling alive, vibrant, and responsive in ways you could never have imagined. Once you start understanding the true role of your pineal gland, the third eye, you realize just how systematically it has been suppressed, not by accident, but by design. From the moment you were born, the environment around you began shaping, conditioning, and limiting your perception. Your education, the media, societal norms, and even your diet were all part of a subtle yet relentless strategy to keep your awareness within narrow, controlled boundaries. Fluoride, for instance, touted as a public health miracle to protect your teeth, accumulates disproportionately in the pineal gland, forming calcium deposits that gradually harden this tiny, yet powerful organ. The more it calcifies, the duller your perception becomes, cutting you off from intuition, insight, and nonlinear thinking. And fluoride isn't alone. The modern diet, loaded with preservatives, artificial additives, synthetic dyes, and heavily processed foods, taxes your digestive system, while simultaneously numbing the subtle energy of your brain. Your body becomes so busy processing toxic sludge that your mind loses its ability to detect the quiet, intricate signals of higher perception. But chemicals are only one layer. Electromagnetic radiation, from your smartphone pressed against your temple, Wi-Fi routers humming constantly, 5G towers broadcasting invisible waves, even Bluetooth devices running non-stop, all interfere with the natural frequencies your pineal gland relies on. The gland resonates with the Schumann resonance, the natural electromagnetic rhythm of the earth. Yet artificial frequencies scramble this signal, creating stress, fatigue, disrupted sleep, and a dulled intuitive sense. Your nervous system becomes overstimulated, and the subtle stillness necessary for perceiving the layers of reality beyond the five senses becomes nearly impossible to achieve. And then there's the psychological warfare. From childhood, you were conditioned to trust only what could be measured, quantified, and proven under laboratory lights. Intuition, inner knowing, direct experience, everything that could connect you to unseen dimensions of reality was dismissed as superstition, woo-woo, or delusion. Schools trained obedience over inquiry, wrote memorization over critical thinking, repetition over insight. Religion, once a sacred path to direct experience and mystical knowledge, was transformed into rigid hierarchies, where connection to higher consciousness required intermediaries, priests, books, or institutions. The sacred was locked behind rules and rituals, and your ability to perceive for yourself was actively discouraged. The concept of the third eye became a laughing matter in public spaces, a taboo subject that elicited ridicule and doubt. And ridicule, as psychologists know, is a powerful tool of suppression. If you make people laugh at something long enough, They avoid it, dismiss it, never get close enough to explore it, and in the process, they disconnect from their own innate ability to perceive. Yet, despite all these layers of suppression, the pineal gland remains intact, waiting, dormant but alive, capable of awakening when you choose to give it the proper attention. And when it does awaken, you begin to perceive subtle layers of reality that were always there, but previously invisible. You start noticing coincidences that seem too precise to be random, the unspoken energy in spaces and people, a flow of insight that feels like it is coming from outside yourself, yet is intimately connected to your consciousness. Your mind starts forming patterns and understanding symbolic language in ways that were previously unavailable. This is where the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience becomes undeniable. EEG studies confirm that focused meditation and breathwork can synchronize the hemispheres of your brain, creating measurable states of clarity, insight, and heightened awareness. MRI scans show that deliberate pineal activation lights up regions of the brain associated with intuition and perception. Deep meditation alters neurotransmitter activity, balancing serotonin, dopamine, and melatonin levels, which in turn creates a physiological environment conducive to higher states of consciousness. And then there's DMT, naturally produced in your brain, particularly in the pineal gland, which acts as a doorway to experiences that defy linear space and time. People who experience DMT report vivid visions, encounters with what they describe as higher intelligence, timelessness, and even a sense of unity with the universe itself. Indigenous cultures across the world, from the Amazonian shamans using ayahuasca, to Central American tribes with sacred snuffs, to African and Asian herbal practices, have used DMT-containing plants, not as recreational drugs but as tools of initiation and enlightenment, gateways to perception beyond the five senses. And the astonishing part is that your body is capable of producing these molecules naturally through meditation, deep sleep, or even near-death experiences, giving you direct access to the same consciousness those rituals were designed to evoke. But the system fears this more than anything else. A population aware of its own perception, capable of accessing truth directly, connected to its inner knowing, is no longer controllable. They cannot be manipulated by fear, distraction, or conformity. That is why every element of modern life has been designed to dull your senses, distract your attention, and obscure the signal of your third eye. The war on consciousness isn't fought with guns or armies. It's fought with chemicals, frequencies, social engineering, ridicule, and noise. And here's the shocking truth: awakening isn't just possible. It's literally wired into your biology. The pineal gland, the third eye, is not an abstract concept. It's a living organ designed to perceive layers of reality that your five senses cannot access. Once you begin activating it, your world shifts in ways that feel profound and sometimes unsettling. Ordinary routines feel hollow, media and social chatter feel like noise, and the pull towards silence, nature, meditation, and meaningful connection becomes almost irresistible. Your nervous system no longer tolerates chaos. It begins to crave coherence. Subtle energies, once unnoticed, become perceptible. Your consciousness begins to operate in dialogue with reality itself, not as a passive observer, but as an active participant. Ideas, solutions, and insights appear that you didn't consciously generate. Synchronicities and patterns emerge that feel orchestrated, guiding you toward truth and alignment. And most importantly, you begin to see through the illusions that the system has built to control perception, marketing, and thought. The awakening of the third eye is not a simple process. It is an unmasking of reality, a reclaiming of perception, and a step into a higher form of consciousness that has always been your birthright. It changes not only what you see, but how you interact with the world, how you make decisions, and how you understand the connection between yourself and everything around you. It is subtle, it is gradual, and yet it is irreversible once it begins. Once you start seeing with your third eye, the mundane routines, artificial stimulation, and imposed distractions of society begin to feel unbearable because your perception has evolved to recognize what is real, meaningful, and aligned with higher truth. This is why so few experience it, because society actively suppresses it, discourages it, and ridicules it. But for those willing to pursue it, for those who can endure the initial discomfort and distraction, the rewards are immense: clarity, intuition, insight, a sense of connectedness, and the realization that reality itself is layered, flexible, and alive in ways most people never notice. And all of this, every insight, every perception, every subtle awareness, comes from a tiny organ in the center of your brain that has been waiting patiently for you to recognize it, awaken it, and reclaim the perception that is rightfully yours. By the time you reach this point in understanding your pineal gland, your third eye, and the hidden layers of perception, you begin to realize the depth of the control systems designed to keep you blind, distracted, and disconnected from your own innate consciousness. Every day, billions of people live their lives unaware, walking through the world as if in a fog, disconnected from the subtle currents of energy, intuition, and higher awareness that are constantly available to them. The education system, the media, advertising, religion, and social structures work in concert to keep the vast majority of humanity focused on the trivial, the superficial, and the externally validated, teaching you to look outward for approval, truth, and meaning instead of inward toward your own perception. And yet, the very tool to break free from this imposed blindness has always existed within you: the pineal gland, tiny, almost invisible, yet extraordinarily potent. It sits in the center of your brain as a dormant gateway, capable of activating states of consciousness that have been described by mystics, scientists, and spiritual seekers across centuries and cultures. Once it begins to function fully, you start noticing that your reality is not rigid, linear, or fixed. Time itself appears fluid. Thoughts and ideas seem to arrive fully formed, and information begins to flow to you without effort or conscious calculation. Patterns, connections, and synchronicities emerge in your life that feel orchestrated, guiding you toward opportunities, relationships, insights, and actions aligned with a deeper truth. This is the same process that ancient civilizations intentionally cultivated. The shamans of the Amazon, the priests of Egypt, and the sages of India understood that consciousness is not confined to the five senses. They knew that intuition, symbolic understanding, and direct experience of the divine are all accessed through this hidden organ in your brain, the third eye, and that ordinary sensory perception is only the surface layer of what is possible. And yet, modern life has created obstacles to your natural awakening: fluoride calcification, artificial additives, preservatives, heavy metals, and environmental toxins slow the functioning of your pineal gland. Electromagnetic radiation from phones, Wi-Fi, and 5G interferes with the delicate frequencies your gland resonates with. The constant bombardment of digital media, social pressure, and external expectations pulls your attention outward, drowning out the quiet, subtle signals that indicate truth and guidance. Every distraction, every chemical, every artificially induced craving works together to suppress the natural function of the third eye, keeping the population compliant, distracted, and disconnected. But here's the extraordinary truth: these obstacles are not permanent. With awareness, dedication, and consistent practice, your pineal gland can awaken. Meditation, breathwork, visualization, and intentional focus all help to decalcify, energize, and activate this dormant organ. Deep, quiet reflection allows your consciousness to align with the natural frequencies of the earth and your own body, creating coherence in your nervous system that supports higher perception. When this happens, your mind begins to perceive what was previously invisible: the unseen energy of people, spaces, and situations, the hidden connections between events, and the subtle cues that reveal truth beyond superficial appearances. Your intuition sharpens, your decision-making improves, and a sense of inner guidance replaces reliance on external authorities. And then there is the DMT naturally produced in your brain, the so-called spirit molecule. When the pineal gland is active, DMT release may occur during meditation, deep sleep, or heightened states of awareness, producing experiences that feel like journeys beyond time, beyond the physical, beyond the limitations of ordinary perception. People who have experienced DMT describe vivid visions, encounters with higher intelligence, timelessness, and profound clarity. Indigenous cultures intentionally cultivated these experiences to gain insight, wisdom, and connection to the unseen dimensions of reality. And the incredible part is that you do not need external substances to access this state. Your biology is designed to produce it naturally when the pineal gland is functioning, when your nervous system is coherent, and when your consciousness is aligned. The awakening of the third eye is, in essence, the reclaiming of your sovereignty over your own perception, the liberation of your mind from the manipulations, distractions, and limitations imposed by the modern world. When this awakening occurs, nothing is the same. Ordinary routines feel hollow, artificial stimulation feels unbearable, and the pull toward nature, silence, meditation, and meaningful connection becomes irresistible. You begin to see truth where others see illusion, clarity where others see confusion, and subtle order where others perceive chaos. Your life becomes guided by insight, intuition, and alignment with a reality that is far richer, more intricate, and alive than what you were taught to accept. This awakening is gradual, subtle, and irreversible. Once your consciousness stretches beyond the five senses, the old patterns no longer satisfy. You no longer follow the scripts designed to keep you passive. You question narratives, notice inconsistencies, and trust the guidance coming from your own perception rather than from external authorities. The world opens up in layers, each revealing more complexity, beauty, and interconnectedness than you could have imagined. And here's the ultimate revelation. The third eye, the pineal gland, is not a mystical fantasy or a metaphor. It is a living, functioning organ within your body, your personal gateway to expanded perception and consciousness, capable of connecting you to intuition, higher intelligence, and the unseen currents that shape reality itself. Your journey to awakening, it is also a journey to reclaiming yourself, your clarity, your sovereignty, your ability to perceive truth directly, and your capacity to live in alignment with the deeper intelligence of the universe. The moment you commit to this awakening, everything changes. You no longer live on autopilot. Your perception stretches beyond the limitations that society, chemicals, and distraction have imposed. You feel, see, and understand dimensions of reality that were always present but hidden beneath layers of conditioning and neglect. You reconnect with ancient wisdom, natural frequencies, your own biology, and the innate potential of human consciousness. This is the path of awakening, the path of the third eye, and it is waiting for you, silent, patient, and alive inside you, ready to transform the way you see, feel, and experience everything, forever.